Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal Lynette, and I am joined by Miss Kea Simone. Let's just get started. I'm so excited to be joined by you. This is the 1 year anniversary of From Pain to Love. Um, I'm just so excited to talk to you because we met during reviews of Married First Sight with Kojo with a Little Black Book. But who is Miss Kea Simone? A lot of you know her as Eastside Kia. A lot of you know her as Hood Bougie. Let's talk. Who is Miss Kea Simone from Detroit?
So, Miss Kia Simone, I could be a whole lot of people. It just depends on where I'm at. So that's really the truth. Like to my core, I'm an introvert. I always tell people that, and people will not believe it. I'm like, no, I really am. That's like why I write because I'm an introvert. I do better with pen and paper. But like I said, you put me in a different element, I might be hood bougie. Sometimes I gotta let you know I'm East Side Kia. So it just all depends. And then in corporate America, you know, I'm just Kia.
So we're gonna get back into this introvert extrovert topic a little later because I don't truly believe her on that one. So I love the fact that she keeps saying that she's an introvert. How was it releasing your book during the pandemic?
So Crystal, it was really like uh, a decision that I had to make. And the reason why it's like a baby. So I was holding on to this book. Like it was like the writing process wasn't as hard as the like editing. Because when you're going through the editing process, now it's someone else's, input, opinions. So it was a good process. My editor, I love my editor. I told her, I said, you're my friend for life. But it's a process. So after the whole entire process, as a first time author, I was just ready to drop it. Like, take it. You can have it. I don't care. I don't want to read this book anymore. Take it. So it was one of those things. So I made a decision, like, okay, go ahead and release it because this is a timeless book. So you can read it any time because it's a time period book. So it goes from like the beginning of 1976 when the girl was a child to adulthood. So it's timeless. So I didn't really feel bad about it.
I love that. That's one thing I did love about reading this book is the references to Tupac. Like you really had some references in there that I love and that I recognize because he was one of my favorites as well. But so you just said that the process was so hard. But so was it after 10 years of just gathering these stories and recognizing these people and people you knew? How long did that take? What was the process like? I know it was grueling because once the pandemic hit, you and I talked about that it was kind of difficult.
So I wanted to write this book, I think around 2003, but I wasn't ready mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all the above. So when I decided to write it, I never like really like was serious about it. So we can get into it deeper, like throughout your interview, because I don't want to take any of your questions. But there was a separation, and so what's the best thing to do? Some of your best work come through when you're hurt, broken, just all the emotions, embarrassed. It was just so much going on. So I was like, let me just put pen to paper and just go ahead and knock this out. So during that separation is when I just really like sat down and said, okay, I'm gonna write this book and go ahead and get it done. There was no distractions, just me, God, my laptop, sometimes a pen and paper, just whatever.
So this book was therapeutic for you, basically.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we talk about that a lot, and we're talking about mental health a lot. That you when you write things out, what you're going through, and all of those things, all of those feelings that you're feeling, write it out, and then next thing you know, you've got this masterpiece book. But even if you're not in that space of thinking that you're going to put all of those feelings into a story, just write those things out. So that's how it led to being just therapeutic for you during a time when you needed it to be.
Yes. Because like it was just one of them things, like, let me figure this out myself. So, I had friends and I had family members, but sometimes people was like, she lying, she not at home, writing a book. Like, why she keep saying like, and I'm gonna be honest, Crystal. Some of it was a little, like I didn't want to be bothered. So it was just like, okay, I'm in the house writing. Literally, I really was writing, and I still have material. So it's just like I'm. This is what's helping me through this.
So what do they think? That they thought you were out with a man? They found somebody new to get under, for lack of a better word?
I
Because
don't think that. I think a lot of people be scared of when you mention mental health. A lot of people thought it was a depression thing. So they like, okay, what is her mind state? And I've always been the type of person that I try to figure things out myself. So when I get quiet, that means I'm really analyzing. I'm a very strategic person. So when people think that, you know, I just randomly do something, it's not random usually. Usually it's a well thought out process.
right,
So sitting there, it was just like, okay. But they were scared, like, okay, is she depressed? Is she about to
right.
catch a case? Because she's too quiet. And it was just like I was just taking it all in.
Exactly. So that kind of leads me to my next question. You didn't always want to be a writer?
So I did. So let's just be honest. I'm Eastside Key, okay? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any writers. I didn't. It's just like it was far fetched. So when you're growing up, basically in the hood, you just get in where you fit in. So I had the dream, but there was no one there to help me or move me to the next step or feed me or say, hey, let's get you in these classes, let's do this. So it just took my adulthood to, surround myself with different people. So sometimes just because you grow up in an environment does not mean you have to stay there. And we can
Right.
get discuss that later. Like I said, like how I met all you guys through the Little Black Book and how I just met different people. You meet different people and it helps you grow and become a better person. Again, don't be surprised if some of your characteristics end up in another book. So
So I love that because you didn't have a vision of what your dream was. You had the idea and you knew that you wanted more, but you didn't have the words for it, and there was no one to show you what that looks like. You
And it was
know,
also where you didn't believe that you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like you really just like didn't have nobody being your cheerleader or saying like, you know what, people really do. You can do this.
you really do
Just
do that.
make it happen. So it just like I said, it took for adulthood for me to say, okay, what's stopping you? You make stuff happen on your own. You don't, have to wait for anyone.
Right. That's exactly. So actually, you just answered like that question about being on the daily grind and just having these stories in your head and needing to get it out onto paper. That's exactly right. And so let me ask you, let's dive into this book now. Who is Destiny Monique Crawford? Is she someone you know? Is she pieces of you? Is she a family member? Because I know you said that you have a real life. A couple of these characters are from your real life, but on Married at First on our reviews, the reason why we do that is because those characteristics and those behaviors, we recognize that in other people we know. So who is she?
So
Who is she to you, to the writer?
so Destiny, a lot of Destiny, honestly, she is a lot of Kia, but she's
Okay.
not all me. So I created Destiny because Destiny is that lady, that woman that sometimes she's embarrassed because of some of the thoughts that she makes, the decisions that she makes. So I created Destiny because I wanted her to be able to live in her, in her life and be, don't just be judged. So I just wanted the other ladies to know, okay, you're not the only one out there. Pretty much that's what I was saying. Hey, you make mistakes, you may have been a fool. We all been a fool, but most people would be too embarrassed to say, hey, I got played, this happened. So when I created Destiny, it was really for all the women. So yeah, a lot of her is me, but she's my sister. She's some Crystal because a lot of people could relate to her because they were too embarrassed to admit that they had some of her characteristics.
And that is so important that we can see these women in ourselves. We can see destiny in ourselves. And a lot of women, as you just said, we can't see what we really want to be in ourselves. And it's time of us having our own voice and getting out of our own head and having a book like this. That's why this book is so important to me. When some of these chapters, I'm like, whoo, This man put us through it. And I was like, okay, this chapter, I did that's me. I can't believe that. And so I love the fact that you put that on paper. I was like, oh my gosh, Crystal, that was you 10 years ago. Like it is. So you really put an emphasis on, yes, I get it. And don't judge her. Don't judge her.
See, that's when Eastside Kia come out. So when Eastside Kia come out, because people get so judgmental, and I've had people, read the book and be like, "Oh, I couldn't be a Destiny. Oh my gosh, like, why did she put up with this so long?" And it's a lesson for me. That's when it's a teachable moment, and that's when I tell that woman, like, "Hey, what if you know a Destiny that's your sister, that's your coworker, that's your friend? That's why people don't talk to you, because you make them feel embarrassed or judged. So maybe you might want to put your judgment to the side, because we all display our insecurities differently. So with that being said, it was an opportunity. It's a teaching opportunity. Hey, before you judge someone, that's why I made it a timepiece, because I wanted you guys to know where Destiny came from. When you look at someone and you see the pain and you see stuff that people do, why does she do that? Okay, so that's why I went
Absolutely.
back to when her mother was born. What happened to her mother, and how her mother's, childhood carried over to her childhood and to her
Yes.
adulthood. So until you fix those things, they continue. So yeah, that's what it's a teachable moment for me. I wanted women, like I said, it was some stuff I put in there. I was like, oh, I'm about to get some backlash, or people gonna be looking at me funny, but it was a story that I felt needed to be told.
That is so important because, and we talk about that on the show as well, that if we know their backstory, if we know their history, and I know that I divulged some things when I was on Maria's show that I was like, I can't believe I just said that. But it's so important to say, okay, because of these things. And I was there's something I want to touch on a little bit in the beginning, that she's kind of jaded, not kind of, she's jaded. Like gets in these relationships, and I feel like she doesn't trust, and she doesn't trust people. She definitely doesn't trust men, and I'm just so intrigued that you really just kind of just started just peeling back the layers and just said, okay, no more, like what's the pastor, no more sheets. Let's just pull it all away. So let's talk about that. Like you just really
So,
made her very vulnerable, but at the same time, she doesn't put up with anything.
so let's go here. You said I was gonna say that today. So y'all know my favorite words are let's go here and listen. But let's go here. So you remember the chapter Daddy Issues.
Yes.
So she started out the gate where her daddy did not claim her. So when you come out the gate, when you're the people who's supposed to love you, and I don't want to give the story away for the people who have not read the story yet, but her mother was a piece of work also. So straight out the gate, the people that she was supposed to trust or be able to trust, she was not getting that from them. So she was like basically came out in survival mode. So when she was in relationships, like trust, what is trust? Because she's always been in survival mode.
Right. When you're constantly in survival mode, all you know is to how to hustle. All you know is how to get to the next step. You don't know that, okay, this might be the right person for you. So, I was like, wow. And it's somewhat interesting because you created somebody that was so vulnerable and just kind of sad, but then at the same time, you're rooting for her. For those of you who haven't read the book, my favorite chapter is the first chapter. And so Kea and I were talking about how we want our supporters, how we want Kea's supporters to go and like read like a paragraph for us. And she read a paragraph, but I was like, not the first chapter, not the first, like that's not the first, because I was like, oh gosh, so for those of you who haven't read the first chapter, and I said, oh, we gotta peel back the layers after she goes through what she's with you come out the gate with a bang, like, and that's what I love, and I think that's the East Side kid in you. You're like, I'm just gonna hit him. I'm just gonna hit him. I'm gonna draw everyone in, and I was like, I gotta find out more about this girl. I gotta find out more about this and who becomes a young lady in this. So talk to me about who's your favorite character in the book. Is there one character in the book that you nurture a little bit more, and you really want to give them your back? Tell the meat about him or her. Who's your favorite character?
So strangely, it's not Destiny.
Okay.
Although she's a lovable character, no matter what she do, you guys love her. But my favorite character is Zeke.
Okay.
So Zeke is the guy like that you everybody was like, why she won't get with Zeke? Why she won't get with Zeke? So when I created Zeke, I just wanted him to be that guy that you like, okay, why she's pushing away from him? Like, why? Everybody else in the story were kind of basically trash. So you like, okay, Destiny, like, what's the problem? You have women that are like that you like, okay, you meet a good guy, but you push him away. So what was it about Zeke? But I like Zeke. I love Zeke. Zeke was my imaginary boyfriend. So
Who's your imaginary boyfriend? Everybody has an imaginary boyfriend. Everybody has somebody that you're like, I just keep wanting to go back to him no matter what, no matter what.
now, trust and believe all the characters are inspired by someone. Now, I do have people in my life that, once somebody read the book, I said she read it in less than a day because she was trying to figure out who was who. And it was funny. It reminded me of the movie Best Man. I'm like, girl, you're not going to figure it out as bits and pieces. It may have been inspired, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a word called embellishment. So it might be
Yes.
bits and pieces. But Zeke was inspired by a guy that I was very fond of. So I, just kind of like hyped him up a little bit. But yeah.
So okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. We're gonna go back. We're gonna um take a let's take away some layers here. Growing up in Detroit and you not seeing someone that's like you, someone that is showing you, okay, you can be this, you can be an author, you can be whoever you want to be. What was it that said to you, let me make a change, let me do better? Who is that Kia that said, okay, I want to be this person, but there's more out there? Like, what was that time that you said, was it the husband, as we know that she calls him? Was it the change? Was it that, what was it?
So it was my rock bottom.
Okay.
My rock bottom was the day that, I thought this relationship was going to last forever. And when that relationship ended, it was like, okay, you're at rock bottom. And that was the day that I basically, you know, really like gave God control, complete control, and trusted the process. When I was just like in the past, I was trusting on my ability, trusting what Kia can do. And at that point, I said, Lord, whatever you have for me, that's what I will be. And I honestly believe to this day that I'm the one that's he placed in our family to break generational curses because nobody told me. I was just like, y'all know this was shenanigans. Y'all know, listen, why are we not talking about that elephant in the room? Like, all the things that a lot of times people like to ignore or don't discuss. So I do believe God, made me this person because I was the one to say, hey, no. And like I said, when even with the book, a lot of people probably was just like, how you about to do this? And it was just God's work to show like anything can be done.
And so, what's interesting about that, sometimes when one piece gets revealed to you, then the next step and the next step and the next step just starts to come. And then you find an editor. And then when you start saying that, when you start calling yourself an author, then people start, oh, you're an author? Oh, I know an editor. Oh, I know a photographer. Then all of a sudden it just starts to happen for you. So, was that your life lesson from the unexpected? Was that the time that you just said, this is when my life's got to pivot? When did you ever have a time that was at that rock bottom that
It was
said,
Yeah, it was the rock bottom because at that point, that's when things started happening in my life. Things start changing, just the miracles start happening. Things start changing. So, I prior to the rock bottom, and you said becoming an author, I just didn't trust, like or didn't believe things can actually happen. And
right?
so when I solely put my faith in God and depended on solely Him, that's when things that I never imagined happened. Like you said, things people you got to put in place with people. You like, where did this editor drop? She basically dropped in my lap. Um, the people that I worked with on my book. dropped in my lap. Everything just started flowing. Again, like meeting you, it all just started falling into my lap. So shout out to the little black book. I love them guys. I said we're family now. So I see them in the comments. Just God just started moving and just doing just his work.
I had a conversation with the family member just last week, and they were saying how they're struggling and they're going through all of these things. And I said, I said, have you talked to God? Like, have you actually sat there and talked to him and be an active listener in what he's trying to tell you? And I think that that is so important. Sometimes we are just moving and we're going and we're asking why. Why has this happened to me? Why hasn't this happened to me? And I feel like a lot of things that we watch, people only talk to him when things are going wrong, when things are going bad.
But
And
let
you
me tell you how God worked. So when I say Eastside Kia, when we get a couple of little dollars, we move from the hood. So that's where I got the name when I say hood bougie. So I moved as far away from Detroit as possible. And it's just funny how somehow I was just like, God, how did I end up back in the city? But I believe it was all for his purpose. I still don't know exactly what it is, but you start seeing that God puts that ray of sunshine around stuff that normally don't have that sunshine. So now, people see like, okay, she's doing it. She's, doing things that normal people, around here are not doing. And some people
right,
are not saying everybody in Detroit is not doing anything. I'm not saying that. But when he puts you in a situation where people can watch you and see how do you handle adversity, because again, a lot of people didn't even know that I was going through a separation. People didn't even know what was going on, but it was like you was running around here and it was genuine. They were like, you quoting Bible scriptures on Facebook, you smiling at work. But that just show you when God moves in your life.
so I really want to ask now. This is a great question, transition, because so how did those people that were in your life, how did they react? Because a lot of times in personal testimony, like for instance, I grew up in California. They all thought that I was born and my immediate family, everyone is from Beaufort, South Carolina, a very small country town. They thought, oh, she lives in California, she must be rich. And then, oh, she moved here. And some people you'll motivate and some people will tear you down in the process. So how was that reaction when you started moving a little differently? How was those people, those were those close family members, how was that reaction?
So I see my
Oh,
friend
here.
Robin in the comments. So she always say, I see green on dead trees. So a lot of times I try to hold on, I try to see the best in you, but I had to get to that point to realize everybody is not meant to go where you're going.
Absolutely.
So sometimes you have to love people from afar, and I had to set up boundaries because some people will keep on trying to drag you back to who you used to be. And I tell people all the time, like, listen, I'm still a work in process. I still might pop off every now and then. So let me just separate myself from this situation. So that I believe for anyone, you need boundaries. So everybody, like I said, everybody's not meant. Some people will smile in your face, pretend that they're happy for you. They just don't. They're not really happy, and it's just like even with the book thing. Okay, we eat like literally like I DoorDash. Don't judge me, you guys, but my DoorDash bill is $25 to $30 sometimes a day, and this is like quite often. Okay, so we eat this. So with that being said, some people wouldn't buy the book. Even if you don't read it, give it to a friend. Even a share, just share like when I put the post, just because you don't read, you might have 5 friends to read, but everybody don't want to see you win. So I stopped taking that personal, Crystal, and I was just like, you know what, I'm with the people who love me. People to just support, to just love you because no hating. I just like good vibes.
And love you because they truly want to love you and they want to see you do better. They want to see you succeed. And what is so interesting is, so personal story of mine, I actually moved here 2 suitcases and a duffel bag.
Okay.
Moved from California to Atlanta, and I drove across country by myself. Some people were happy for me and some people were motivated, and some people were like, oh, well, look at her, and weren't so happy, and really tried to dog me after when that happened. And I said, you know what, those are the people I gotta love from afar, because to me, I said, nobody else is gonna do this. Nobody else is gonna want you to succeed more than yourself. And that's what's so important. That's as we all have to keep that in our mind. We all have to just we have to advocate for ourselves. That's what I really took from that. And I talk to my friends all the time. Say, Crystal, you motivated me when I said you got up and go. And I literally said, okay, I gave myself 2 weeks, and I called a friend. No, I'm in Arizona. I'll be in Atlanta in probably a day and a half. I'll be and so she's like, well, wait a minute. So next thing you know, then another friend's moving 2 years later. So you just have to have that personal motivation, that personal strength in you. So talk to us about, like, where does that personal strength come from, Ms. Hood Bougie?
I tell you, I'm a scrapper because I came out the gate with had survival instinct. So I just be like, listen, that's where that go get it spirit come from. Because when you realize, like, okay, I'm on my own in this, and I always say, like, everybody's not ready to heal. Like, for example, like, my mother, she'll sometimes be like, well, I'm sorry I wasn't this, whatever. You were only able to give what you had.
Yeah.
I'm just more of that person to just be like, no, let's get this. So I'm just a survivor.
So the reason why I asked that is, like you said, you really went through Destiny's childhood in that, and we talked a little bit about your mother, talked a little bit about your father. You didn't have anyone, a brother or a sister, to just like be that person to back you up.
So I'm the oldest. I have two brothers on my from my mother, but they're younger. So again, they came from the same mother. So when she only was given what she was able to give. So again, I'm that type of person that is like, again, God created us all individually, and I just I used to be called the difficult one. Sometimes like they were like, oh, here she come again. She pop off. I just didn't know how to channel that energy because again, I used to be a pop-off queen. Don't y'all judge me, but I'd be like, I would drag you. Don't play with me. So I'm a little bit refined now because I got too much to lose. But I was just always in survival mode. Like I'm not taking that. I'm not putting up with that.
What I think is funny is, the reason I'm laughing is my mother always said that I'm the tough one. Like, Crystal, like, especially when it came to men, she's tough. She's, and I was like, oh Lord, she's tough. And I do think that if we let people get away with anything, then we're the casualty, So we have to be a little bit tough. And you were that motivation for your younger brothers.
Yeah, and so it changed now because I've changed my circle. So I was just talking to my good friend Robin about this. I said, that's why I said about the boundaries. Everybody can't stay. So some people they like misery, they like conflict, they like division, they like all that. So those people I have to kind of set away because I want to be in a safe environment. So when my environment does not feel safe, I kind of like, remove myself from that situation.
Right.
Because again, I don't want to be that rah-rah. That's really not who I am at the core, but that's who I had to be in order to survive the stuff that, was going on in my life.
So let's go back to the mental health question, because that is so interesting what you just said. A lot of people, and I do have friends like that, and I still have one or two that, like you said, I have to love from afar. I have a good friend that she actually had to have a self-assessment of herself and say, I'm not comfortable unless there's chaos around. And she had to change herself and went into therapy and everything. And what do you think about mental health, and how did that affect? How would that have affected Destiny? Because I truly believe that when you have those people around you that they want chaos and they need the upheaval and the stress, that's when they feel more calm and comfortable. I've seen it happen, and I said, oh no, I've got to get away from this situation. This no longer serves me, as we know somebody else says. And if you've been through that, yes. Have you been through certain situations that Destiny's has, that she said, you know what, I've got to get out of this situation? Go ahead. Let's
All
go
the
here.
time, Crystal, like I said, all the time. But I'm just better at it now because I learned how to block.
Yes.
I learned how to unfriend you from Facebook. I've learned how to do all that. So, my block game is strong now. Don't play with me. So I do want to add on what you said about mental health. Um, in my family, they were not big on seeking counseling. Now, when you have like, um, sexual abuse, all type of, family secrets, those issues need to be discussed. And it's obvious we need a little help. But it was like, no, we can't tell anyone, even a counselor. Like, they didn't have a full understanding of like basically when you sit down, they're not sharing your information with the world, but you keep getting bad advice from cousin Trina or whoever. But it was hard for me to really go to counseling and really get the value of counseling. So I do want to share this. So when I first started going to counseling, my motives were wrong. Again, I was trying to save that marriage. Like, whoo, we're gonna go to counseling. Let's go ahead and save this. So I wasn't focused on me. So even the counselor, she would try to separate us and like, okay, you need to go, he need to go. But I was still like, no, no, you need to fix him. You need to fix him. And it wasn't until I finally was like, you know what? Let me really get this experience. And once I got the full counseling experience and I was willing to tell the truth, you can go to counseling and waste your time and waste your money sitting on that couch telling them what they want to hear. They hear it all. So when I finally started telling, like, listen, this is this, this is this, and this is going on, that's when the real healing, like with God and counseling, that's when the real healing began, because then that you're not just making up stuff. I didn't know what to do with it. Like, okay, why am I feeling this way? Why is this? So now when I feel like I'm having anxiety, I know what triggers it. So I know when to step away. Like, hey, I'm not about to have anxiety today. And that even is in the workplace. So it's a better thing. Counseling is really important when you just have stuff going on.
So let me ask you, you said that you went to counseling first with the husband. How many sessions or how long did you go with him before you said, I may need to have my own individual conversation?
Girl, we was in there deep. I don't even know. It was a whole bunch of sessions. Okay. So, I was just like, when I tell you it's a lot of that's when that was that part that I pulled gay destiny. I was in denial. You couldn't tell me that thing wasn't gonna work. I was like, I don't care, like it's gonna work. So with that being said, I can't even tell you how many crystals. It was just too many. Okay, we wasted too much money and too much time, because the lady probably would be like, girl, if I see her at the mall, I'm like, girl, I didn't want to tell you it wasn't gonna work.
Right. They won't tell you. They're like, okay, well, if you want to try this, let's try this. So we got to go back for something you just said. Talk about the stick-to-itiveness of a woman, because we will stick it out even when we know.
Let me get comfortable, Crystal, for this one, because I could talk all day about this one. So
we know it's not right, and I can't even remember
let's just
how
go here.
she did this. So let's talk about this.
Let's call those emotions what they are: embarrassment, shame. Because my ego was crushed. It was crushed. Like, what? You don't want to be with Kia? What? Sir, like, I was there through the thick and the thin. What are you talking about? So my little ego was like, it was just so much stuff on the table. So how do you just say, I'm gonna let go of something you feel like you worked so hard for? And I pulled through the trenches with this man. Like, sorry, I was there like when you didn't have hot water. Come on, let's stop playing. We was there rubbing them two quarters together. Come on, we together. We riding this thing out. So I was just like, did not want to let it go. And then it's funny because my parents didn't like him. Okay.
Kia, were you sleeping on the church floor like Miss Alexis? Like what
I wasn't sleeping on the church floor, but back in the day, I think they call them trap houses now, but back in the day, it was some stuff going on. Okay.
Right.
So,
okay.
Like, sorry, I'm in here. Okay. Like, but I thank God that he protected me from all the shenanigans that I was just too blind to see. But yeah, I was sticking that thing out because I got to prove to my parents and my people that this thing work. It's
so
y'all not gonna tell me that this didn't work.
So you just said, I'm gonna stick beside him no matter what.
So Crystal, like I said, when you was rubbing the two quarters together, now you doing something. Sorry, we together. And it was like that ego thing. I wish Quisha would, get on after I done put in all this work. So it was like ego. It was like, no.
And so
even if it was a headache, I was still like adamant, like, no, we built this life.
And you really have to think to yourself, and something my counselor says was like, what would happen if you just didn't do this? What would happen? So when we're in it, we don't think of it like that. We think, oh no, I'm in this. I'm going to prove something to him and my friends and my everyone. So you said your mother didn't like him. Go ahead. And I interrupted you. Go ahead. What were you saying
Well,
about
what? You I mean, why would she? You at the spot. Like what? Like I was brought up in the church. No matter how dysfunctional my family was, they went to church, and
and
I ain't
pray?
gonna say pretended, but we kept our fronts up.
Right.
So when you got this other guy that just straight, just like hood, they like, hi, what you over there doing, girl? So it was like a struggle, but that was my boo.
So you were going to struggle together no matter what.
Yeah, we was gonna struggle. I was like, we got, and when I said earlier, I'm an introvert. So you keep saying that you don't believe it, but I was cool with being behind the scenes. So it was that I lost my favorite saying: "Never lose yourself trying to find someone else." Kea Simone. So I didn't actually get to put it on my book, but that's what I always say because that was a process. So with that marriage, I lost myself because I was so comfortable with staying behind the scenes. What do you need? Let's do, like everything was for his career, everything was for him. So I was content just being behind the scenes.
So when you say never lose yourself trying to find someone else, do you think, and it's so interesting because we talked about this before, you lost your voice or you lost who you were, like whatever he wanted to do, yes, I'll do that. You didn't even know what you were. You didn't even know who you wanted to be. You weren't even the author yet. You lost your sense of individualism when it was whatever he wants, that I'm just going to fold and be with him and that's it. You just totally lost yourself. Let's talk about that because that is something, and we were talking about that on Marie's channel too. That us as women, we are so devoted to building him up that we lose ourselves. We lose our sense of self, our sense of individualism.
So again, you want Kea Simone. Kea Simone, keep it real. Um, we had some mess going on. Okay, we probably should have never even got married. That's just facts. So with that being said, um, I made mistakes. He made mistakes. But when I finally was just like, you know what, let me just make this work. And you listen to some like older people be like, you got to get yourself together. Why, you married now? Just go ahead and whatever. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let me take this commitment serious. I'm gonna try to make this marriage work. Again, I was trying to get that annulment like a little bit. Like we wasn't even 6 months in. I was like, this ain't. And you got people tell you like, well, no, just give it a try, give it a try. So when I say that, when I gave it a try, when they say a man never forgives, I didn't want to see that. So the same stuff that a man will do to you, he can't take it when you do it to him. So it was one of those situations. Because again, I'm still Kea, East Side Kea. This is the game that we've been playing for all these years, and now we like trying to settle down, but you still got those pieces of you there. And so again, all the stuff that he did to me over there, like let's just so if anybody's lost, I knew my husband since 1996. That's a long time. So we broke up, go back together, broke up. He got a girlfriend, I got a girlfriend. It was just a whole big mess. So that's why I said we should never probably got married. I don't say probably we should never got married, but it was a life lesson. I learned a lot from it. Okay. So when I say lose yourself, I was trying to make that thing work. So a lot of the shenanigans stuff that I would normally not put up with, that I would tell anybody to run, I put up with a lot of stuff that I know that I shouldn't have put up with, and nothing was gonna ever make him happy because again, men can't take what the same stuff they dish.
I love that because these are life lessons. These are things that we as women all go through. We put up with stuff that any other man, oh no, oh hell no. We would have been like kick rocks. And it happens. It's okay. And like you keep saying, don't judge me. But this is a literal book of don't judge me. Don't judge this woman for going through what she's gone through. and she's learned some hard lessons to get to where she is. So I want to ask you, we were talking about never lose yourself to save someone else. And so now you're single. We were on the show and you were talking about being single. And it's so interesting because I started thinking about this after that show with Maria S's show. Check out her channel. But do you think, and being a creator, being a creative person, and I really wanted to ask this question. We talked about being single and advocating for our self worth. And I really think this book really advocates for our self worth as women and being advocating for ourselves, right? Do you think there are more creative people that are single and navigating their personal lives on their own? Because I really, when I think about that, except for some, I really think that we really have a voice. And so, what do you think about that?
So, if I wasn't single, I don't believe that I would have that single season, that I would be the person that I am today or have that creative side. Because, like, even if I was to be an author, became an author during the time that we were still together, you wouldn't have got this book. Because again, it was a watered down version. I wasn't like, the creative side. And then you got other people's input that you like, okay, well, hey, they read a piece, well, I would change this or their opinion. So I was able to give all Kia. So when you read From Pain to Love, you feel Kia, the essence of Kia, the little, the hood bougie, the church girl. You feel all that.
That is so interesting. So, you just said something. You said that if I wasn't single, I would have maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Are you saying that you would have really taken other people's their opinions into consideration? You would not have written this book, or if you would have written this book, it would have been a watered down version. Explain that.
I'm explaining, well, how I would explain that is, Crystal, because again, I just, when I stated earlier, when we were together, I was just like, okay, I'm trying to make this work so bad that his opinion was very high up there. And not just his, it was like my mother, our relationship is not the best, but I was so like worried about other people's opinions. And then when you take that away and you're in that alone space, that single space, you're able to be the best you when you just like, guess what? I don't care what none of y'all think. You're going to say what you're going to say. You're going to talk, you're going to make up stuff. You're going to do whatever. So let me just be the best creative side that I can be. So no, you wouldn't have got this version of From Pain to Love if I was still in that relationship, because I had to find myself and I had to let go and say, who is really Kia? And that's why I don't mind when we joke and say hood bougie, because that's who I might be that day. If I put on the blonde wig, I might be East Side Kia.
And
it's a freedom.
and that's so important that you have that voice and you're advocating for yourself. And a lot, there's so many instances where we are listening to so many other voices in our head that are not us, and we need to listen to our own voice, and we need to stand and step into our own excellence. That's what I was getting at, is that it is so important that we advocate for ourselves. And like you said, if I was in a relationship, I wouldn't have had the guts to write this book and just like peel off all the layers and just open myself up, because you're listening to so many other voices. Oh, well, don't do that. Oh, well, don't say it like that. And I just loved that. That's what I was getting at. I was
And I've tried so many new things like over this period. Like
like,
I promise you, like even with the YouTube stuff, like with Didi, was like, can you come on my channel? Like what? Like okay, like even the little black book and all that stuff. I was not that girl. So if I was in a relationship, I probably wouldn't be talking to y'all on YouTube at 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, or I wouldn't be doing some of the things that I'm doing. So I just believe this is my period of singleness and I embraced it. So any season that God has you in, you just embrace it and
embrace
live it
it.
to the fullest. And when people like you enjoy your singleness, yes, right now, because that's what season God has me in. Don't y'all think I deserve a moment of singleness? I was pretty much like raised in the church where my mother, they, all day is like, you do this, you do this, you do this. So it was a control. childhood. So then when I became an adult, I was in a relationship my whole adult life until we separated. Like, I need a break.
Yes, and you
What
need
I
to
don't
find
have
out about you. You need to find out who you are. So that is that is actually that's excellent because that was going to be my next question. Now that this introvert slash extrovert has really come out, talk about. I know that you still or have your regular job, but you are hosting now, and you are getting yourself out there. And talk about that. Like you said, this is just a lot to unpack with the new Kia that's getting in the forefront. Talk about some of these hosting jobs that you've done.
so the only reason when I do come out is because I'm an advocate for the woman that doesn't have a voice.
Okay.
Even sometimes where I just feel like I'm going off the ledge because I get passionate. So, not talking about the page, I was fighting for page. I'd be like, no, let me explain to you. Watch, listen, there's some stuff going on behind there. And that's because I can see when there's a woman that's going through certain things because I've been that woman. So I'm like, okay, let's pull back the layers. Let's, peel this onion. Let's kind of, take it slow. Let's figure out what's going on because again, there's a story. So now I'm that advocate for the women that go through stuff. So when I come on your page, I want to talk about that woman. I want to be like, hey, don't be embarrassed. You're not the only one out there. So when I say that, Crystal, like I said, when I come out, and even when I'm on a little black book, I'm always relating to the woman that's broken. I'm always, just that's something why I can come out. If you notice, I'm not passionate about a lot of stuff, but you start talking, about some judge or somebody, and you said I say that a lot. Don't judge me. I just be joking because I could take it. I'm Eastside Kia.
Right.
But when I say like that woman that's sitting there and I'm like, why are you going in on her that hard? Like, you don't know, she might be that one thing, might be that thing to break her. Like, cause I've been that woman where it just feels like, hey, one more thing, I might just,
She might just snap.
yeah. So when
Yes.
I come out, Crystal, that's why I come out because I come out for that woman, and I believe that that's God, the stuff that I went through. I think God used that to give me the strength to talk to people and be able to.
He's giving you that motivation, that strength. This is the chapter that God has written for you, and we have to
Because you
embrace it.
remember Peter in the Bible, because I was like, Peter was a little rough, remember?
Yes.
And so when he came over, and became, a follower of Christ, he still had that same stuff, but God had to keep like, listen, Peter, Peter, Peter. Okay. So even Eastside Kia, I'm that one that, that you'll be like, in the hood, be like, what? Girl, sister girl, with love, and they could relate to me like, okay, she really did that in love. Like
Mhm.
she that girl.
She's that girl, and you
And
can
it's
trust her.
sincere.
And so you've been hosting weddings. You've been getting yourself out
No, that's
there.
not me hosting weddings. I just went to the wedding, Crystal.
Oh, right. Because I was like, wait a minute. I said, okay, so she's getting herself out there. So now we're going to have her on more shows. But I really want to talk about the next chapter. I really, now that this has been out, this is a year of From Pain to Love. My Heart Belongs to Him. What's going to be the next series? Who do people want to? I know that you put out a survey. Who do people want to talk about next? Or who do people want you to talk about next? What kind of layers are we going to be peeling back?
So a lot of people want to know what happened to Destiny. Because Destiny, how
Mm-hmm.
it ended. And I left that open because I just wanted to leave it open. And I just wanted to be able to have something to, and I also wanted the reader to be able to use their imagination and say, okay, how do you want Destiny, to ride off into the sunset? Do you want her to come back home? What do you want her to do? So I'm kind of like doing like an outline kind of now, and I'm just trying to get that feel back because I, had that. COVID was a rough year. Let's just be real. Like
I
I
asked you about that. Let's be real. Like you've had some things going on in COVID, and still release this book,
so, like I said, everything happens for a reason.
right?
Um,
Okay.
I had COVID, happen, and then my dad passed during COVID.
Oh, wow.
So during that time, I was just like, oh my gosh, like okay, I just dropped this book. Now it just feels like I can't even, enjoy like the fruits of my labor because I got COVID going on, and then I got this emotional, just because when you bury somebody or whatever, after this all said and done, you still have those emotions. And so those were just things that I had to deal with. And then, I just start, like I said, surrounding myself by positive people that genuinely love you. Like I said, I see, Max Mira in the comments, Dee, that's my bro. I knew Crystal. It's just like
Man,
how
we
God
missed
will put
those
different
guys.
people
I
in
texted
your
you the other
life.
day.
I promise
I
y'all,
missed you.
so y'all don't even realize how therapeutic it was. It was just like some random, and you just hook up with people. And I know there's other people in the comments, I just can't see the names. But everybody that just was loving on me during that period and just was there. I just said that just made you just keep going because you just feel like you just, there's purpose, there's reason, and you just see the genuine love around.
And that's
And I see
really
my
why
Auntie Roslyn in the comment. Hey, Auntie Roslyn.
that's really one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this this artist showcase with you, because to me you are a product of motivation for other women and young ladies that are really trying to find their own voice, and you're really showing that no matter what the obstacle, I can really do this, and I have a voice and I need to just use it and take it one step at a time and step into my excellence. I know I say that a lot, but it's important that you find out what that niche is that you love and find out who you are. And that's what I was like, I really want people to really see Kea and find out what her next project is, because it is so important that we see a regular person. It's so funny that a regular somebody from Detroit that's really doing it and taking it one step at a time. So that's why I was like, oh no, Kea, I really want to just be me and you, and let's talk and let's relax. I wish we had some wine. I wish we had like a cocktail.
Y'all, I will give y'all all the tea. Listen, you be like, oh, we like that's Eastside Kea. But no, I'm really, like I said, just a laid back person. Like if I love you hard. It's just that's just who I am.
So next up is for people to see what's going on with Destiny. Okay, I have a question. Does anyone know about some of these guys? I really want to take a deep dive into one of these men, one of these guys that she's had been partnered with, one of these guys that she's had, one of her boyfriends. And let's just peel back. Who was he before he met Destiny?
So you did say that. So David will be an interesting character because the real life David, sometimes I'll be like, I can't stand you. But at the end of the day, it's all love because we just really just shouldn't have been together. But like I said, if I call y'all, Eastside Goon, he gonna come. So he's like, don't y'all play. So at the end of the day, he has that's why I say it's not meant until you get that healing. His story is like mad, like crazy also. It's just like some stuff like going on. Now he might try to get some, the proceeds and be like, now you owe me now.
We can change the names.
Yeah, David has a story. Zeke has a story. Because again, these people are inspired by real life people. And I touched on some of the David character, but I didn't go deep because it's, you only have, like, for a first time author, my editor was like, you got 320 pages as a first time author. So this is not normally done. But I had so much material, and I promise you guys, like, on my laptop, I have so much. I would have to probably go through and probably can build a whole nother book off the material we trashed. Because I had Mr. DJ was in there. His chapter got scratched. It was just like a lot of people. But David, he got a story, Crystal, because you was like, yes. I don't like David. I don't like David. I was like, girl, did you finish reading it yet?
So the funny thing is, I think that's important. I think that when you that means that you're good. That means when you see if I see an actor, I'm like, I hated you. That means he did his job. You know what I'm saying? That I was like, okay, this is good. Like, if you know that means that I felt attracted and like, okay, I can't put it down. So that's really what I really want to tell people about this book, is that you can't put it down. And I know the next chapter, or the next series is going to be even better if we take even more of a deep dive into Destiny, But if we start unpeeling some of these onions of these men some of these boyfriends that she had, whew, like this is going to be a huge success. And I
Yes,
really want to just go ahead.
yes, because like look at David, the stuff that he did to her, you like, why who is your mama? But I don't know if my girl Robin is still in the comments, but yeah, that his mama in the book, she was something else. So I gave, like I said, I touched on it that you see, like his mama was a little gangster too, doing some shady stuff. So again, you gotta see like where people come from or where, like when his mama. That's why I showed his mama in the book. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, now real life David, his mama don't smoke cigarettes. She don't, she haven't came back and choked me up because she loved me dearly. But it was for the story. But again, people come from a place, and like I said, everybody had a story. Now, Kea Simone, I don't date anybody. I see those red flags, I be like,
Right.
like all those signs were there, and I see Lola said they were all losers. Yes, but Destiny was so blinded that she thought she was in control because again, she thought she was that girl. She was out here and doing her thing, and she thought she was in control until she ended up realizing that she was not in control all those years. But yeah, David.
And that's something, and Lola has said that on the show a lot, is that these are deep dives into our characters and behaviors that all us women have, all women and men. That's why we do this, that's why we show and we showcase these type of stories, because these men are losers, but you hold on, you keep holding on, and you're like, okay, well, maybe I can change him, or maybe I know I don't trust him, but I'm gonna stick it out. I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm gonna stick it out. That's so the next series is for you to be taking it. Okay.
So I just want to add this. So you guys, you heard when I just said about joking about the real life David. It's all good with him. So if he's watching, David, we're good.
Oh no, we don't pay him the
We're
link.
good, David. So with that being said, when Destiny, I mentioned she had daddy issues, right? So what do usually girls with daddy issues go for? They look for that protector. So no matter how much David was doing wrong and was, abandoning her at times or leaving and coming back, she still felt like she was her protector. Now, what was she being protected from? Like, girl, wasn't nothing going on in your life like that. But you look for that protector, and that's who David was for her. She wanted to be protected. Like, okay, finally, this guy told me that he see me. Like, oh my gosh, he see me?
Mm-hmm.
Even though he was lying.
And that's what happens. We look for somebody. Either we look for somebody that reminds us of our father, or we look for somebody that didn't give us what our father should have given us, or we hope to get from our father. And that's what she thought she was getting from him. There's so many things in this book. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, this poor girl, just stop. And she couldn't. She kept she
But
wanted
it's
to find out.
reality. When y'all watching Instagram, you see that girl like shaking upside down on the table or whatever she doing. There's issues there. And again, all the years that I was on the shenanigans, nobody was just there to like say, hey baby, let me love on you. Let me just, because love is the greatest, of all, that scripture. But when you feel like you don't have that, you just out here running wild. And that's why I just said don't judge people, because again, instead of running your mouth talking about somebody, why don't you just love up on that person, and then they will be coming to you like, well, hey, they come to you like, well, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? So again, Destiny just needed that in her life. That's it.
And she wanted somebody to give her that love. If you don't have that person, whether it even be a mother or somebody in that life to give you that extra love, to just say, maybe you shouldn't be doing that, then you keep trying to find it wherever you can. This
Yes.
has been amazing. Thank you so much. Everyone stay tuned for the next episode of Candid Convo with Crystal. Kea Simone, thank you so much. Tell everybody what's going to be coming up next. I know we talked about Destiny, or taking a deep dive into the next chapter. I know you said you're just doing the outline now, but so have you decided that that's what we're going to be looking at? Is next? You haven't decided yet. Go ahead.
So
I'm
I
going
just
to
always
give you the last word.
so for a writer, I just write what what feels true to me. Because what people don't know is I wrote a whole nother book and prior to From Pain to Love, and guess what? I deleted the whole book because it wasn't Kia. So when people are like, you throw away that much material, no, that was just like get my commas, my stuff together, just see what you can do, test out your stuff. But it wasn't Kia. It was like, oh, I'm trying to be this self-help person. I'm talking like, like that's not me. So whatever comes from God or whatever I feel that's true to me, that's what it's gonna be. So when I hit it, like when you want that couch, or okay, let's say you're going somewhere and you want a dress and a shoe. You go to a store, you go to 20 stores, but when you see it, you know it. So when I feel that I have that product, then I'll release something to y'all. But until then, I will not release anything that I don't love. Like From Pain to Love, I love this book.
Yeah. And you want to feel passionate about what you're putting out there, and you want to feel like it's you. You want to feel a personal connection to it.
Yeah, and it has to be like authentic. It has to be Kia. Like I said, my editor, love her, because it's still Kia. So, how people come in, well, you should change this. Why you say this? Because that's not who I am.
Right. Right. So I really think that that's what we're going to end on, is to feel passionate about everything you do, and just to not let anybody else tell you who you are. And what was that? I really want you to repeat what you said. Never lose yourself.
Never lose yourself. Never lose yourself trying to find someone else.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Candid Convo with Crystal.